Thank you very much, Count Corla, and I would like to thank every deputy who contributed to this debate over the last 2 nights. Count Corla, I'm sure we'll all agree that in this House we are elected to do what we regard as the right thing. And I have no doubt whatsoever, but if the whip was not applied in this House tonight, this Fianna Fáil private member's bill would pass, and pass with overwhelming support. If I were to be generous, I would say that the reasons cited by the government for not accepting the bill are flimsy. But if I was to be honest and realistic, I would say that the reasons cited are nothing short of pathetic. The Taoiseach said yesterday at Leaders' Questions that the Fianna Fáil bill is unconstitutional. The Minister gave a very detailed response last night and said nothing of the kind. The furthest that she went in her statement was to say that one aspect of the bill may engage constitutionally protected rights. May. Entirely different to what the Taoiseach said in Leaders' Questions yesterday. And the essential premise of the government is that if a bank owns 34% of your debt, they have no veto. But if they own 36% of your debt, not to give them a veto would be unconstitutional. Whenever I read the Constitution, I certainly don't see that in it, Minister. In my view, it is absolute nonsense. And the only constitutional rights that the government are seeking to protect here are the constitutional rights of the banks, because the government is certainly not seeking to protect the constitutional rights of ordinary families in this country. And if constitutional change is required to bring about this change and enact this bill and protect family homes, then let's do it. Hear, hear. There are 2 referendums being held on the 23rd of May. There's a perfect opportunity to put this question to the people if the government was so interested in protecting family homes. Hear, hear. I have to say, Count Corla, that I am ashamed as an Irish person and a member of this House at the manner in which some of our banks are treating our people. Their physical health, their mental health, people under enormous stress, people going to bed every night wondering whether the letter will arrive the following day, another threatening letter, or will move on to an actual repossession proceeding. The number of suicides, the number of families divided. People are absolutely distraught, and they're coming to our clinics every week with stories of how they're being treated by the banks. This bill is about protecting the family home, not about protecting mansions out in Killiney, which are caught up in a complex web of commercial debt. The bill is about protecting ordinary homes for ordinary people who are under extraordinary pressure. And let me contrast how ordinary people are treated by this government with the way private equity funds, or so-called vulture funds, are treated by this government. Do you know, Minister, how many times the Minister for Finance and his officials have met with private equity funds since the beginning of last year? No fewer than 28 times has this government met with vulture funds since the beginning of last year. And they're all there: Apollo, Carva, Lone Star, Soros, I could name them all out. How many times has the government met ordinary people? Yes, they'll get a hearing at a constituency office from a sympathetic TD, the very same TD who will come into this House tonight and copper fasten the power of veto which the government has given to the banks. That, Minister, is the reality. It is also the reality that this government does not know how many mortgages it has allowed to be sold to private equity funds with no statutory protection being afforded to those mortgage holders. The Minister says it could be around 16,000, but actually we don't know. People left in complete limbo. People being left in legal no man's land, and we're all hearing the situations that are occurring in reality as a result of that. The 2 major responses by the government to the mortgage crisis have been a failure. The Insolvency Service is not dealing with mortgage debt in any satisfactory way, and the Mortgage Arrears Targets programme was hijacked by the banks because they're allowed to define a sustainable solution and they are allowed to use a threatening legal letter as being a sustainable solution. This bill is not perfect. It is an honest effort to address what is a huge social crisis in this country. And Minister, you might be interested to know, in putting forward your version of the repossession statistics, that for every house lost by way of a repossession order, 3 family homes are lost by way of voluntary surrender or voluntary sale, which is forced on the family by the banks. And this government's answer seems to be to force people down the bankruptcy road. Well, under no circumstances should ordinary people in mortgage arrears have to become bankrupt to extricate themselves from a mortgage arrears situation. The bank veto must be brought to an end. This government mistakenly gave the banks the power of veto in the Insolvency Service, and that's one of the reasons why it is not working, and now is the time to remove it. Thank you, Chair.